Howtoon Post here. Just doing a quick little live review slash, I guess, first impressions of Spider-Man Brand New Day. The fourth MCU Spider-Man movie out now in theaters. I just came out of the theater watching it. I saw it in 3D, and I am happy that I saw it in 3D because if there's any Marvel movie, in my opinion, to see in 3D, this is probably like one of the best ones to do that with because man, the action in this movie was like amazing. I would say honestly it might be the best action out of all of the live action Spider-Man movies, right up there with um the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oh, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. The Taza movies had amazing action, and I would say the Toby movies had some pretty good action too. Even if a lot of the visuals in those movies, kind of some of it is a little bit dated, kind of aged a little bit, not the best. Like that one scene of Toby, him playing Peter Parker in Spider-Man 1, where he's like running and jumping from building top to building top or whatever, and it's like so obviously like green screened or whatever, but stuff like that happens when a movie is from like the early 2000s. But no, this is like the best looking live action Spider-Man in my opinion. I know some people are saying that like it's either tied with TASM 2 when it comes to like the web swinging and stuff like that. When it comes to the visual departments, some people think, oh, TASM 2 is still the best looking live action Spider Man. And other people I have seen saying that this is the best live action Spider Man in terms of the visuals. And I agree with those people, honestly. Because, like, TASM 2 had some amazing web swinging scenes. That's like one of the only things actually amazing about the Amazing Spider-Man 2, because it's a very messy movie, as everyone knows. But this movie, I think, is the best looking Spider-Man movie. Not just because I saw it in 3D. I'm sure if I saw it not in 3D, it would also look amazing. From the action to the web swinging, also the coloring of the movie. It doesn't look so like desaturated like almost every MCU movie nowadays. And I'm saying that as someone who, as I went over in my recent live stream doing a tier list of every single MCU movie, I defend modern MCU nowadays, at least, because after watching the entirety of the MCU over the past couple years, I do feel like, yeah, the newer movies, not all of them are as good as the older ones, but the MCU is still putting out some pretty good looking, or not looking. Most of it actually looks not very good nowadays, especially like the Thor Love and Thunder movie and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. A lot of MCU movies do not look very good, whether, like nowadays, whether it's the rushed, bad-looking CGI, or it's the very desaturated colors. Um, but this movie does not have any of those problems, in my opinion. In my opinion, like, all of the CGI in it looked like fantastic. Like none of it looked rushed whatsoever. And so the colors, like I said, the movie actually has colors. It's not just like gray and just like dark desaturated colors. Um, and so the action scenes, I don't know if I already mentioned that, but yeah, there's very, very good action and everything like that. It's a very good Spider-Man movie, I would say, when it comes to the scenes of Spider-Man fighting against villains and all that stuff. But it's also a very good Peter Parker movie, in my opinion. And in my opinion, this might be the best Peter Parker movie. It's mostly a Spider-Man movie in terms of, I feel like this is the movie where we see him spend the most amount of time in any Spider-Man movie wearing the Spider-Man costume. Like during most of the time of like during most of the movie, he is in that costume. He doesn't have a social life in this movie. We see in this movie it's been like what, 5 years, I think it was, since the end of No Way Home, in which everyone forgot who Peter Parker is, and so he is literally on his own, no friends, no girlfriends, no MJ, no Neds, And we see that after all these like 4 or 5 years, I think it was 5 years, he didn't um open up to anyone new. He didn't get any new friends, didn't get any new like romantic partners or anything. He still just really misses Ned and MJ. And as we see, when they reintroduce those characters into his character's life in this movie, when I found out, when I heard in the news, and a lot of other Spider-Man fans, after No Way Home, when it was announced that Ned and MJ would then be in the next Spider-Man movie, a lot of us were kind of thinking, doesn't that kind of like ruin the emotional weight of the ending of No Way Home, in which he chooses, despite how sad it makes him, to not tell MJ and Ned like who he is and that he knows them, just to like protect them after what happened to Aunt May, and him like holding himself responsible to that. A lot of us Spider-Man fans thought that might ruin the emotional weight of that ending. But this movie, I feel like, actually makes that ending even more sad. Like, we just see how much the, like, feeling that he places on himself, that feeling of it being his responsibility to not open up to them, to not tell them, hey, we used to know each other, to not get new friends, aside from the Punisher and that police chief that he works with now, like in the PS4 Spider-Man video games. We see how much that isolation that he puts himself through takes a emotional and physical toll on him as a character, as we see very well in the sections of the movie that show him mutating into. He doesn't become the man Spider. A lot of us Spider-Man fans, particularly fans of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, kind of were expecting and hoping that he would become the man Spider. I thought that would have been very cool to see in a movie. But we do get some similar stuff. Like, I remember in the animated series, you got him waking up in like just like a big cocoon of organic webbing or whatever, and not like knowing how he got there. That happens in this movie, and you see the effect when the Spider Man like side of him starts taking over and gaining control over the Peter Parker side of him. His eyes turn like completely black, and also the way that they had Bruce Banner's character and the Hulk incorporated into this movie, I thought it was actually very well done. And stuff like Captain America's cameo in the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, well, it's just kind of like he's on a screen. Um, in some videos that I'll play to Peter Parker's PE class and whatnot. That's just like a fun little like cameo of a different Marvel MCU character in the movie. The movie would have been the same without it. Didn't really need to have it. Um, there's a lot of like elements to the MCU Spider-Man movies in the past where it does kind of feel like they're just like incorporating other MCU elements and characters into these new Spider-Man movies because now they can, and also I think they're also legally obligated to have a certain amount of MCU characters into these Spider-Man movies as part of the MCU Marvel Studios Sony Pictures deal. But I did not feel like Bruce Banner was like shoved into this movie for no reason. I thought it was actually very, very intelligent and clever and thoughtful the way that they kind of like included him and his character in the movie as like a contrast between Peter Parker trying to fight against like this conflict of there was him as the human Peter Parker, and then also his like superhuman type side to him, the Spider-Man side, kind of like trying to take over, like how Bruce Banner, being the Hulk, he often deals with the Hulk side taking over. And I loved the scene where made they made like Hulk and Spider-Man fight each other, because we get Savage Hulk coming back again in this movie after so long, and the action with that, incredible. Not a incredible Hulk pun, but it was incredible in my opinion. And what was like the best part about this movie though? I would say probably the emotional just like elements between Peter Parker and MJ specifically. This movie has like guts, is what I walked away from it thinking, because you do kind of expect, so they're bringing back the other two characters, Ned and MJ, into the movie. You expect it to just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna include the characters that have always been in these MCU Spider-Man movies. We're gonna make a very happy, satisfying, crowd-pleasing movie. He's gonna get back with MJ and all that stuff. He doesn't get back with MJ in this movie. I expected that they were gonna have him get back with MJ. Maybe she was gonna remember who he is and all that stuff. We get a scene where it seems like that's what happens, but it's not actually MJ speaking. It is MJ. It's MJ's body that this is being said through, but she's under mind control, or not mind control, but like possession from Jean Grey, who is indeed the character that Sadie Sink has been rumored to be playing. She was playing that character, who I'm going to go over in like just a minute. And in this scene, we get Spider-Man, Peter Parker, reuniting with MJ, and MJ kisses him and says that she still remembers him and loves him and all that stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, so they're gonna actually make it so that she remembers and they get back together. But then, like, after they kiss and everything, Jean Grey, while still possessing MJ, says, I can see why you two would have been a good couple. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't actually MJ. And then eventually we get MJ finding the notes that Peter Parker was going to give her many years ago that would have explained how they knew each other and all that stuff. And I like how we have MJ saying to Peter Parker that, like, it wasn't his choice to not have it be that she, remembers who he is, to keep that secret from her, especially because of, like, how they knew each other for so long when they were in high school and whatnot, and they were so close, and that she gets that he was trying to protect her, and eventually, she, like, is like, I'm so grateful and so thankful that you did all this to protect me, or to protect that version of me that loved you, that you were very close with and was very close to you. I'm sure that she loved you a lot, but that's not me. I don't remember you, and I don't love you. That scene, that was like one of the best scenes in the movie. Absolute standout scene. And it's a very sad and not very satisfying satisfying scene in the movie too. It's not a very satisfying scene. The story between Peter and MJ is not very satisfying in this movie, but that's kind of what makes it so awesome. Because it would have been easy to just have them get back together, and in the movie, like, maybe they're both web swinging together, she's holding on to him, and then, like, they go off into the sunset. But no, they have this scene where she tells him straight up, that version of me that loved you isn't me. I appreciate you for all that you did to protect that version of me, but she's gone and I don't love you. They still might be friends going forward, and maybe there will be moments, in, like, maybe the next movie where they do get closer again, and I feel like the movie left an open ending where she might eventually go back to, like, dating him or whatnot, but also, in this movie, as of the status of this movie, that's not what happened, and it was very gutsy of this movie to tackle that element of the story, the romance in it, from a very mature and realistic sense. Well, that is a thing. Well, they were together because of the moments that they had together. But if she doesn't remember those moments, it doesn't make sense that they would be together. And yeah, I really, really liked that. And I was shocked by it, honestly. I went into this movie having completely avoided all of the spoilers, except for how everyone kind of knew that Sadie Sink was playing Jean Grey. Like, even before the movie came out, just it was obvious. She was playing Jean Grey. And I'm saying that as someone who doesn't even know much about the character, but knowing like everything that I heard about the movie and everything surrounding Sadie Sink in the movie, yeah, she's playing Jean Grey. Everyone already knew that. In her character, I think was like the other best aspect of this movie. I loved how there's also like a contrast between Peter and Jean Grey, how they both feel like because of how different they are, them both being characters who have these special abilities that can be very dangerous. They feel like they have to and are destined to just like be alone. I loved how at the end of the movie, Peter Parker tells Jean Grey, like, you aren't alone, you've got me now. And she was very menacing throughout the movie, a very menacing presence, how she was able to control basically anyone, possess anyone, even MJ, and she like jumps off of like a building as MJ, and and that was insane because it was like a very Osh type of moment. And then it almost seems like what happened in TASM 2, where Peter's love interest falls off of a building and dies. That could have happened. It didn't happen in this movie. Peter Parker saves her, but that could have happened, it felt like. And you really see in this movie how powerful of a character she is. And then there's also, I love the Osh type moments. By the way, I'm censoring myself because I decided like a year or two ago, going forward, because of how most of my videos are about like SpongeBob and stuff like that. Even though my videos aren't for kids, kids might watch some of my videos, and I don't want to like be swearing in my videos that kids might stumble upon. But anyway, there was also the Osh moment by like near the end of the movie, like I would say 75% of the way throughout the movie, in like the final half of the movie, where Spider-Man realizes through talking to MJ about like how she didn't remember anything that happened until she was possessed. He realizes, oh wait, the guy in charge of damage control lied to him. And the stuff with damage control, how damage control is really the actual villain in the movie, not Jean Grey. And Jean Grey, I mean, she did like a lot of bad stuff in the movie, but damage control were like the actual menaces of the movie, really. And I loved when Spider-Man realized that, and that was pretty cool. That stuff, it kind of felt very nostalgic. I don't know what the word is, but like rewarding. It felt very rewarding how this agency, government agency, damage control that we've been seeing becoming more and more of like villainous, antagonistic presence throughout the modern MCU, and like Ms. Marvel, in especially Wonder Man, to then have Spider-Man going up against damage control, one of the major heroes going up against them. That was really cool. And I loved how the guy in charge of damage control, he seems to be this very nice, kind of likable guy in how he talks to others, and conveys himself and presents himself and whatnot. He seems very friendly, which is a complete shocking like opposite of the previous guy that was in charge of damage control, who was very unlikable off the bat. You just kind of already knew, yeah, this guy sucks. But he was a great character, played by a great actor. He was one of those characters that you liked hating. But this guy, in the beginning of the movie, he seems like a likable character, and Spider-Man joins and becomes like a friend of damage control until realizing, oh yeah, this like this machine that he got himself involved with, the machine is the bad guy, as to be expected, and he's really like a really bad character, bad, heartless guy, the guy in charge of damage control, and all that stuff is very awesome, very well done in the movie, the stuff with damage control, and Jean Grey, and all that stuff. And Punisher was also amazing in the movie. I loved every scene that had Punisher interacting with, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, those two interacting, him and the Punisher, bickering back and forth, all that stuff, comedic relief. But also, like, so I liked Punisher's scenes with Spider-Man in the movie because a lot of them were very funny, but there's also some of them, like the scene near the end of the movie, after we think Spider-Man died, possibly. And the way that it was done very well, because, like, a lot of these movies, superhero movies, have, like, fake-out death scenes, but it wouldn't be, like, the first time we see Spider-Man actually die in a movie released in theaters. Like, yeah, he was brought back in Endgame after dying in Infinity War, this version of Spider-Man. But in Into the Spider-Verse, we see Spider-Man die. He's dead. Peter Parker dies in Into the Spider-Verse. And it kind of seems like, oh crap, are they actually going to do that in this movie? And also, because I avoided spoilers, but I did see like some YouTube titles and thumbnails saying brand new day WTF ending. So I was like thinking while watching this movie, wait, is the WTF moment and ending that they kill Spider-Man? But no, they didn't. But what that does lead us to, because Punisher accidentally shoots Spider-Man. He goes to shoot Jean Grey, but Spider-Man jumps in the way. And so if Spider-Man died, it would have been at the hands of the Punisher. And then we get Peter Parker in a hospital bed, in a hospital room. And when he finally wakes up, we get a very emotional scene between him and the Punisher, who is this character who's always portrayed to be like this, big tough guy. I'm the Punisher. But like, he starts tearing up, and he's like very happy that he didn't actually kill Peter Falco, and he's like apologizing. He's like, "No, I just want to say I'm sorry. What I did wasn't okay and whatnot." And yeah, Peter Falco saying it's fine. But yeah, that was awesome stuff, and the fact that we got Hulk, the Punisher, and Spider-Man all in the same movie, and also some X-Men characters, Jean Grey. I know the people who love X-Men and all that stuff are probably super happy about that too. I'm happy about it too, because I'm happy with how it was handled in the movie. It didn't seem like, oh, this is an X-Men movie. I thought it was a Spider-Man movie. No, it seems perfect for the story they were telling, and so I'm happy that they told this story. I've never really been a huge fan of the X-Men. I like the X-Men. I watched some of the 90s cartoon of the X-Men. I watched like a couple movies. One was a X-Men movie, and I watched the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Those are both very good movies. I like the X-Men. I just have never been like a huge fan of the X-Men. Like I have always been of the Avengers. I'm always like a huge Avengers fan. But with that being said, the X-Men stuff in this movie was handled amazing. And I say X-Men stuff, Jean Grey, and the stuff with this really feels like the introduction of the mutants and all that stuff. The word mutant, I don't think is actually said in this movie. Um, I don't think. But she's like a mutant or whatever, and you got this government agency trying to, you know, experiment on. They experimented on Hosiso and eventually killed Hosiso, and then they're gonna experiment on Jean Grey herself. And it feels like this movie is really setting the groundwork for like the next whatever movies that the MCU does going forward, where we'll probably get like all of the stuff between the X-Men fighting against the government agencies that are, you know, trying to attack the mutants and whatnot. Um, and yeah, it was just a very, very good movie. I loved basically everything in the movie. Scorpion was very cool in the movie too. Didn't have a huge role in the movie, but it had multiple fight scenes, a couple fight scenes, and I loved. Honestly, I liked the costume that they gave him. Some people were criticizing like how the tail looked. It wouldn't have been my first decision if I were the one designing his MCU costume, but I think it looks pretty good regardless. The one thing that I was disappointed by in this movie is um the beginning of the movie where you get like a montage of Spider-Man just going around fighting some bad guys. It was an okay montage, but in that montage we get Tombstone, who is really only in it for like 2 or 3 seconds and gets defeated by Spider-Man like in just a couple seconds. I'm sure in the story that happened that we are seeing just like a few seconds of in the montage. I'm sure in that story he was this big menacing threat that wasn't instantly defeated by Spider-Man, but in the montage we only get a few seconds of that. And I saw that leaked image of Tombstone in Brand New Day. And so among all the other Spider-Man fans that were looking forward to this movie, a lot of us were kind of thinking Tombstone will probably be like the main villain, like pulling out the strings, sending out these villains after Spider-Man. No, no, no. After the 2 or 3 seconds in the beginning of the movie, he disappears for the rest of it. He gets arrested, and then that's it. And I feel like it was disappointing, but it's also okay because we did already get a very, very awesome and well done on-screen story with Tombstone in the Spectacular Spider-Man show. He was also in that newer Spider-Man animated series on Disney Plus, and that was pretty good too. But that was a completely different version of the character, and he wasn't actually a villain in that series, so it doesn't really count to me. Not for what I am talking about though, at least. But we did already get a very good on-screen Tombstone story in the Spectacular Spider-Man series, and so maybe when making the movie, they kind of figured, well, that version was already on screen. It was already done very well. We're probably not going to be able to top it. And honestly, the MCU in just one movie probably wouldn't be able to top it. But I still would have liked to see an entire movie with Tombstone as the villain. I was very disappointed that he was literally only in the movie for like 2 or 3 seconds. Like that one behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, that one leaked image of Tombstone in the movie that everyone saw, that one image is basically all you get of him in the movie. Not much of him at all, only 3 seconds basically. But other than that, that was like my main criticism of the movie. I loved it. I loved the movie so much, and that end credit scene, I wonder what that's gonna be like. My interpretation of that is, I don't know. Because, like, I know in the trailer for Doomsday, oh, someone's in the chat. Spider-Man Brand New Day equals Fallen by Denzel Washington movie 1998. Jean Grey murders an old guy, yet she is not the villain. She does bad stuff. I'm just saying she's not like the actual, like, villain of the story. She is not like a. She crashes an old innocent man to death using a cup. Yeah, she does bad stuff. Well, I said in the. As I said, she did bad stuff. But the main villains of the movie are Damage Control. She's not a hero in the movie, but she's not the main villain. The main villain is Damage Control, is what I'm saying. Anyway, though, but I also liked the scene near the end of the movie, like at the end of the movie, where Peter Falco does a secret handshake or whatever with Ned, and then at that moment, Ned remembers and is like, that is actually pretty awesome. They finally get back together, and that kind of does leave the door open for maybe there will be a moment between Peter and MJ where she actually gets those memories back too, and they get together. But that didn't happen in the movie. But we do see that at the end of the movie with Ned. And finally, after an entire movie of isolating himself, we see Peter Falco come to terms with the fact that he can't keep going on, like, just isolating himself from everyone. And he opens up, and he invites his old friend back into his life. And that was a very, very good conclusion of the movie. This is not a very bright, happy, positive Spider-Man movie, and I feel like that's kind of what the MCU needed. But it does have a happy-ish ending, which was nice. And um, but yeah, okay. Well, I was in the middle of saying that post-credit scene. The way I interpreted that is either two things. One, maybe the Spidey tracker is tracking the symbiotes or something. I don't know though. That wouldn't make much sense. But like there's similarities between like the Venom symbiote with its abilities and Spider-Man's abilities. I don't know. Maybe because like you got the Spidey tracker showing a Spider-Man symbol in outer space. Maybe it's tracking something like that. Like maybe um those symbiotes asteroids that's like about to crash to Earth or something. I don't know why they would do that in the MCU though, because like we did get that other end credit scene in No Way Home, well, when Eddie came to the MCU from the other universe, he left behind a symbiote dropping. And then the other way that I interpreted that end credit scene is maybe it's just showing that Spider-Man is going to be in outer space, maybe in Doomsday, if not Doomsday Secret Wars, because in the trailer for Doomsday, we do get to see that in at least a scene or a couple scenes, the Avengers out in outer space. They are in like a space station type thingy. And so I'm very interested in what's going to happen going forwards. We do know that Spider-Man is going to come back in future movies, as it says at the end of this movie. And yeah, that was an amazing movie in my opinion. I would give it probably a 9 out of 10. Even though I don't ever rate stuff out of 10. I usually just rate stuff good, bad, mid, great. It was a great movie, is what I would say. Probably my favorite live action Spider-Man movie. I love the Spider-Verse movies, but when it comes to the live action movies, this might be my favorite. But yeah. Anyway, that was my thoughts and review. Very rambly, 33-minute long, live. No, wait, not 2. It's 3 a.m. now. 3 a.m. live out of theater first impressions of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, I gotta get home. I am sitting in a parking lot. I don't even know if I'm allowed to be here right now. None of the shops at this parking lot are open. But I did do a live stream here once before, and I think I'm allowed to be here at night. I don't know. If I get yelled at someone, if I get yelled at by someone for being here, I mean, I'm on my way out anyway. I'm heading home. I'm gonna head home. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Cartoon Post out.